Good morning. Welcome to Rankin County Board of Supervisors. I'm going to call this Board of Supervisors meeting to order. We're going to hold off on our Planning Commission and pick it up after the public comments where these people don't have to wait for us to go through our Planning Commission. Ask Craig, will you pray for us?
Let's pray.
Thank you, sir.
Lord God, we thank you for the authority that you have given these gentlemen to conduct the business of the county. Father, the skills that you've given them, the abilities that you've given them, the willingness to come to serve their community. I thank you for their families, Lord, the sacrifice so that they can do what they do. Give them the wisdom and the discernment that they need today, and help them as they deliberate, as they make decisions. Help those decisions to be in conformity with your will, to be pleasing to you, and to be representative of the good that can be done all across this community for every citizen in our community. We thank you, Lord, for our time together in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. All right, we are now in our Board of Supervisors meeting, and I want to go right into public comments. Let me preface that. You are welcome to come speak. This is your time to make a public comment to the board and whoever else is here or watching. Be respectful of everybody's time because we have a pretty big agenda today. Let's try to limit it to 3-5 minutes at the most. And let's just see who's first. Angela English. Come on up, ma'am. If you would, state your name and address.
Good morning. I'm Angela English. I'm the president of the Rankin County branch of the NAACP, and I'm here on behalf of the members of the NAACP, members of the community that are tax-paying citizens. I'm also here in solidarity with the state NAACP and the national NAACP. And my address is I'm a native Rankin County, born, raised here, lived here all my life, helped to integrate the school system. And I live in Rankin County, and that's about all I'm going to say about where I live.
We've got a mailing address for you.
All right. Thank you. I'm not going to hold you long. We all are aware of the sadistic and heinous crimes that were committed by the former Rankin County Sheriff's deputies and one other police officer from Richland. And what we are here for today is to just cut straight to the chase, is to formally announce that we are asking for the resignation of the current sheriff of Rankin County, who is Mr. Bryan Bailey. That is why I'm here today, to formally, officially announce that we are asking for that. The reasons why are spelled out in a letter that I'm going to give to the secretary or to you all. Who will I give it to? Okay. All right. I'm going to give her, all of these are letters that have been signed by the taxpayers of Rankin County. As you can see, there are quite a lot. Of course, I know there are over 156,000 taxpayers in Rankin County, so that's not 156,000 papers. Our request is because we believe that he was negligent in performing duties of his supervision of his employees, that there was a lack of supervision of his officers, which caused physical and mental harm to others while in Rankin County Sheriff's officers' custody. There's a lack of accountability and transparency in his policies and procedures concerning hiring and firing practices, inadequate training in the use of firearms and tasers by his officers, the use of excessive force, unnecessary force, unlawful searches, and discriminating policies, poor policies concerning body cameras. And that list could go on, but in lieu of time, and because there are others here that have their own concerns, I won't proceed any further with that. We would love to reconcile. We would love to heal. We are just like you. We are just appalled at what has taken place. It's tantamount to a modern day lynching. It's a hate crime, but I realized while all these people were coming to me with their concerns that it wasn't just a black thing. There have been white people who have been hurt. There have been other ethnicities who have been hurt. So this is not a black issue, a black and white issue. It's a human civil rights issue. And therefore, that brings us, the NAACP, into play. So what we would like is for you all, we know that he's an elected official, just like you all are elected officials. We know you can't fire him. I was not present at the other meeting where the lady got up and said she wanted him fired. I understand she was upset. And if that could happen, we probably would have asked you to fire him. But we know that he's an elected official. And so you have no control over that. We also know he's running unopposed. So what we would like is for you to join us in wanting the best for Rankin County. We know you want the best for Rankin County. You wouldn't be here. You wouldn't have been elected if people didn't feel like you wanted the best for Rankin County. Right now, Bryan Bailey is not the best for Rankin County. We stand as taxpayers to lose millions of dollars. It could even bankrupt Rankin County. And I know you're saying, how is that possible? We got lots of money. When people start filing litigations and they win, you can easily become bankrupt. And because of that, because of we can't reconcile under these conditions with a person who has turned a blind eye. There's no way in the world you're going to make us believe that as long as he worked with these people, he can figure out that they had some mental problems, because some of this is mental. Now, as long as I worked, and I taught for 35 and a half years, half of it, well, more than half of it was college. About 95% of it was college. The rest was high school. I could tell you which teachers were off. You know what I meant by off. It didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. I could tell when people were not treating the students fairly and come to their rescue. So we can't work with the same person. That's insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over, hoping for a different result. So we can't work with him, but we want to reconcile. And the only way we can reconcile is with new people in place. So we are asking the United States Department of Justice, who is still investigating, to do a consent order and take over the system, the whole Rankin County Sheriff's Department, including the jail, and whatever is necessary to restore order, dignity, and humility back to this county, to do so, and please do it as expediently as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. English. All right. Next, Joe Brazeal. Welcome, Joe. Would you state your name and your address?
Joe Brazeal, 117 Evans Ridge Drive, Brandon, Mississippi, 39047.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning.
If you would make your comments and just the same, try to keep them 3 to 5
Yeah, you
minutes.
might want to, I'm kind of wordy sometimes, so you might
All right,
want
I'll
Hey,
do
you.
this. I'll
We'll
point it.
ring a bell.
Okay.
First of all, thank
got it.
y'all for showing up. It's an honor to stand before all of y'all. And Mr. Gaines, I appreciate as my representative that was like that. This gentleman, when I contacted him the next day, his office contacted me. And this is way more than I got from the sheriff's office, and way more than I got from the Attorney General's office. I have not, let me, now with that said, I appreciate
Yes,
what
sir.
you did for me. I was on an Alaskan cruise when I arrived back, a caregiving cruise to help people with Alzheimer's and things like that. And when I arrived back, I read in the Meridian Star this horrendous action taken by the Rankin County Sheriff's Office deputies. Now, let me preface this that there are fine officers in this community, fine dignitaries and representatives of our government for whom I'm grateful. We live in a safe community. Yet, from the time I moved here, approximately 2008, due to complications with my wife having Alzheimer's, it's another story. I have had issues with the Rankin County deputies. Now, try to understand that when you're dealing with somebody with Alzheimer's, sometimes you can't really just take the next step. So when you approach law enforcement or officials, some of this stuff is unbelievable. You would not believe what they've done. If I were to tell you, now, you would say right now, if I said this is here, oh Joe, this is hearsay. I'm telling you, this is not necessarily hearsay. It's unfathomable what has occurred here. This takes us back to Nazi Germany. It's not just on the surface that you could say, when you call the sheriff's office and you approach them. I will say Jason Dare, and I did talk to the office there. Don't get me wrong. They were respectful to me. I have written both the sheriff's office and the representative of the Attorney General's office some letters, but what I want to say is that when I approached their office, I said, well, you need to just take everything to the FBI. Well, okay, well, why do I have to take it to the FBI? It's not a state's, it's not a federal issue at this point. It's a state, really, it's a community rights issue versus then going up to a state's rights issue. When I say rights, what I mean is that we've entrusted these gentlemen here to ensure that we have the best law enforcement that we can afford and we can implement, and we are safe. However, when you have things that have been going on not just since January, this has been going on since decades. For example, I did ask Mr. Dare about the age of this particular gentleman, 52 years old. I'm not going to say his name. And I asked him, how long did his career with Rankin County start? Well, my guess is that he did not change. I think it started maybe when he first was able to join this force. Now, do tell, how long do you really think this has been going on in our county? What? Pardon? Yeah, what I want to say is, so this runs deep. It runs deeper than what's on the surface. Those who are to protect and serve have been serving a brand of justice that is outside the boundaries of human dignity and decency. They have violated my family on more than one occasions over the years, and therefore that's why I'm here seeking intervention in this matter. A number of these incidents are documented in my book that I wrote. So it's not hearsay. One of my sons told me that they would testify, and I'll give you an example. There was a person, as you mentioned, not quite of all mental, where the hearsay was, to get a confession, they wrapped Christmas tree lights around them, and whenever they wouldn't answer the right way, they turned them on. Now, who would possibly believe that? But if you look at what's written in Jackson Jambalaya article, or if you look at some of the news media, you'll find that that may not be so far-fetched when you really think about what's going on. So I did mention Jason Dare, attorney. I believe he's attorney for the sheriff, and we've established communication and good rapport. And in short, I'm going to provide a copy of my letter to you and to the Attorney General. And so during the conversation, here's why I'm here. During our conversation, I made suggestions of merit. This then is why I'm writing. My suggestion that there should be an investigation going as far back and as long ago as these officers were carrying a badge. You know, one apple spoils the whole, one rotten apple spoils the whole. Osmosis, that's what I'm getting at. The behavior began at some point and cultivated. In short, there are those incarcerated over these years due to the said injustices of those who are innocent. In other words, planted evidence. How many of those, has anybody asked the question, how many are incarcerated now or have been banished from this county because of planted evidence? This is your responsibility. You were on watch. Some of you were on watch during this time. And I'm asking for an investigation of those people that have been incarcerated due to this kind of behavior. And some of the things that I could say, listen, I agree with this young lady behind me.
Sir, try to wrap it up.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it
We're
up.
over
So,
5 minutes.
so this is a mess that must be cleared up, and justice is required in a swift matter. I do not think that we should just put it all to, oh, well, these men are being put in jail and that kind of thing. But let's dig deeper and find out and try to rectify some of these things that have been going on. And there are people in prison, in jail, in tarnished reputation, and even PSTD that needs to be managed and taken care of.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Brazeal. Let's see. Craig,
Is there anybody else that wants to speak on the sheriff's situation? Anybody?
okay, thank you.
Mr. President, this may be a good opportunity to share with the board just as a reminder, and also with members of the public, as a way of establishing precisely what is the process when there are calls for a county elected official to be removed from office. Exactly what is that process? And part of this is to help folks understand when they come here to the Board of Supervisors and they make comments or statements and calls for the removal of a county elected official, they need to understand that they are directing their comments and their calls to the wrong body, to the wrong place. State law is very clear about this. There are really only a very few ways that a county elected official can be removed from office. There's a very limited scope. The very best way that a county elected official is removed from office is called an election. We have them every 4 years. And that is the process by which our citizenry can decide whether or not a particular county elected official is qualified, is doing a good job, should be placed back into the position for an additional 4-year term. And that's the number one way that a county elected official is removed from office. They are defeated in an election. Obviously, that's not going to be possible under the current circumstances because the county elected official who's being discussed today does not have an opponent. And that's just simply by virtue of our election laws that requires an opponent to qualify for an election at a given point in time, and that did not happen. And so we are faced with the reality that our number one way to remove a county elected official is not available to us under the current circumstances. There are other ways, however. Another way that a county elected official can be removed from office is that they voluntarily remove themselves. So a county elected official can come forward and say, I no longer wish to serve in this position, and I am notifying the Board of Supervisors that there will be a vacancy in this position. That's another way that it can happen voluntarily. A county elected official could die. They could get sick to the point where they can't carry out their functions, and that would create a vacancy. But outside of a voluntary vacancy created by the decision of the county elected official or by circumstances that affect that county elected official, this board has no action available to it. You have no action available to it. Mr. President, I would like for you to instruct the members of our audience that the public comment is over and that I am addressing the board with matters that the board needs before it so that it understands what its role and responsibility is.
Okay.
So
Everybody heard that. Let's let Mr. Slay speak. We try not to interrupt other people when they were speaking. Thank you.
outside of a voluntary removal by the elected official of themselves or circumstances that affect them, there is no vacancy in office. Your action occurs, this board's legal authority to act occurs when there is a vacancy in the position. I read from Mississippi Code Annotated 25.5.1. This is the third way that an elected official can be removed. They are convicted of a disqualifying felony. That hasn't happened. Not in these circumstances, not in prior circumstances involving other county elected officials has that happened. A conviction of a disqualifying felony is an automatic removal, and it creates a vacancy, and that triggers this board's responsibility to act at that point. I read from 25.5.3. So outside of a voluntary removal, outside of a conviction for a disqualifying felony, what happens? What happens? Who is responsible to oversee the process of an involuntary removal of a county elected official under other circumstances? The governor. The governor is hereby empowered in accordance with the provisions of Section 139 of the Mississippi Constitution through the procedure set forth in this statute that I'm reading from, for the reasons and causes set forth, to remove any county office or official. The governor is empowered. This board does not have the power to remove any county elected official. You can't do it. The governor. How does the governor do it? The governor first receives a petition that has been filed in accordance with the statute, and that petition has to meet certain requirements. A petition has to be filed in accordance with Mississippi Code Annotated 25.5.7 before the governor shall consider the removal from county office of any elective county officer. There shall be first filed with him a petition signed by not less than 30% of the qualified electors of said county, demanding removal of said officer. A petition signed by 30% of the qualified electors of the county is filed not with this board, with the governor. And then after that, the petition has to be certified, gone over, the signatures have to be checked. All of that process has to be enacted and conducted. Once that's done, it triggers the governor then to make specific findings, and he does that with the help of others that he will appoint to review the facts and circumstances for the request for the removal. The governor. So my hope is that those in attendance here, our esteemed friends in the media, start paying attention to what the statutes say about who is responsible for this. Hopefully that's helpful. I hope it's helped you guys.
Thank you, Craig. I would like to say, I've been in this office nearly 2 terms. I had a career in law enforcement, federal law enforcement, as a special agent. I know a few of the Rankin County Sheriff's deputies and sheriff. I do not socialize with really any of them. I'm probably the closest to Daniel, who is, I think, a deputy and a fireman. The ones that I know, this guy's sitting right here. I have great respect for it. I know some white guys and some black guys, and they're friends of mine. It hurts me. I was surprised. In my 7.5 years, no one has called me or wrote me or whatever and made accusations. And which I don't socialize a lot. I have a ranch and I do my job as a supervisor. I would like for us not to pick sides at this time. I think the investigation is ongoing. I think it's been speedy already. There's almost no cases that I've heard of or worked in federal law enforcement where a crime occurred and within 8-9 months you have pleas. So I want to say we are Rankin County. Let's support our Justice Department. And at the end, I want us all to be Rankin County. And I'm sorry this happened. I believe the sheriff is sorry this happened. Let's respect our law enforcement and not let a few bad apples ruin everything. Okay, I'm through. I'd like to move on. I feel like I'm about to get emotional.
Steve, if we can recess out of the regular meeting.
Yes, sir.
And go back to planning commission, that would be what we're going to do. Just motion recess and open planning.
All right, I will.
I'll make that motion.
All right. Second. All right. Jared makes a motion to recess and go in to our planning commission. Jay seconds. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. I'm going to call the planning commission meeting to order. Thank you, people, for coming.
Thank you all. Thank y'all.
I make a motion to approve minutes from August 3rd.
I'll second.
All right, Jay makes a motion to approve the minutes. Jared seconds. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.